Network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It's Wednesday, October 24th, 2018, hump day, middle of the weekday, starting that long, slow glide down to Powhatan on Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. It's a very, very busy news day. Our phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, but I'm going to ask you to refrain from calling in unless it's really, really important and on topic, because I want to get through the story about these bombs and the migrant caravan before we have people calling in and wanting to go off topic here. So obviously, if you've had your TV on at all, the big story, the only story, has been that bombs similar to the one that showed up at George Soros' New York home have now arrived at CNN, the Obamas, the Clintons, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's office addressed to Eric Holder. And of course, the media's a big deal. Oh, it's terror, it's terror, it's terror. And CNN literally evacuated their studios on air. I'm sure that made for some good ratings, maybe. They could certainly use the help over there. So they had to do an evacuation. But I'm going to tell you right up front, we'll get into the details here a little bit. But this is obviously a PR stunt. It's a PR stunt. The Democrats are desperate. This is their attempt to counter all of the liberal violence on conservatives that we've been seeing lately and say, see, we're victims too. We're victims too. Oh, those evil conservatives here. And New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is out there saying this is definitely an act of terror. And believe it or not, the corporate media is already saying President Trump is to blame because of his politics of divisiveness. And I mean, for them to make that leap, you know, bombs mailed to the homes of prominent insider deep state Democrats, it's got to be Donald Trump. This is Kavanaugh all over again. Just believe the accusation. We don't have to have any evidence. And that's what makes it a PR stunt. We're less than 2 weeks away from the midterms, and the Democrats are not doing very well. In fact, apparently over at the Stephen Colbert show, he's been advised to stop using the phrase blue wave, because at this point it's down to a blue trickle at best here. Over on ABC, David Muir, again, pinning the blame for the attack on President Trump. And, of course, federal investigators are looking at surveillance videos. They're trying to find out what's going on. George Soros' son on that same bandwagon, Alexander Soros. Oh, yeah, it's Trump. You know, it's his demonization of opponents, and that's just stirred up all this trouble. So what we are getting from official sources, and by that I mean other than the corporate media, many of the bomb packages had the same return address, which was former Democratic National Committee Chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and Hillary Rodham Clinton just happens to be in Schultz's district today campaigning. Now, here's a huge clue. This is an article coming out of the Gateway Pundit. Investigators are saying this is very suspicious. There have been 0 detonations. None of the bombs have gone off. Now, bomb experts have dismantled the one left at Soros' home, and it was a pipe filled with black powder. And more than that, they're not saying. They're still trying to spin that this is all real and everything. But even a former FBI assistant director, Chris Swecker, said investigators are going to consider all possibilities, and that it could be someone who's trying to get the Democratic vote out and build sympathy. So people aren't falling for this. We've seen too many of these dirty tricks come out of the Democrats. The bomb that was sent to CNN, there were 2 pictures taken of it and leaked to NBC. And on one side, it shows a possible ISIS flag. It's a little hard to see, which is just kind of silly. If the bomb is going to blow up, why do you bother putting decals on it? But remember what I said, look for what should be there and isn't. And in that photo, and there's the photos of both sides of this device that was sent to CNN, there's the pipe, and there's a little digital clock, and that's it. There is no battery which would be needed to fire off the blasting caps to detonate it. Now, law enforcement would never release any images about explosive devices. It's always a full blackout. So somebody leaked this out, to make the story, to get it on out there. And by the way, little side note here, pipe bombs don't have wires going to both ends. That's just dumb. This thing's a movie prop. You'll have a pair of wires going to one end where presumably there is a blasting cap. And why do these bombs have timers? Wouldn't you rig the envelopes to go off when opened? I mean, the recipients are going to open the envelope, which is what happened in Soros. Oh, my goodness, it's a bomb. It's going to go off in 6 hours. Let me walk over here, put it on the ground, and call the police. It's a joke. It is really a joke. And by the way, who mails bombs to people who don't open their own mail? It's a joke. It's propaganda. It's desperation on the cusp of madness is what it is. All right, we're going to do a quick shout out to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. And for those of you playing catch up here, we're talking about this very obvious hoax to make us all feel sorry for the Democratic figures who are getting these bombs, which are an obvious joke. There are so many things wrong with them. Again, they look like movie props. Little digital timer, no battery, wires to both ends of the pipe. None of this makes sense. And of course, meanwhile, there have been over 500 acts of violence by the left against conservatives. The media just ignores. But boy, are they going to town on this story. Oh my goodness. Hey, yeah, that's the big story here. They're still on, they're still talking about it. And they're playing politics with this whole thing. And what they're not reporting on, of course, is Trey Gowdy's hearings. This is the day when Rod Rosenstein and George Papadopoulos are supposed to be having their closed-door testimony with Trey Gowdy. That's not getting any coverage at all here. Nor, for that matter, is the migrant caravan. That's kind of dropped off the screen. But more and more photos are surfacing from the migrant march, and more of the people in the march are being photographed giving the MS-13 gang sign. Now, over at Univision, Jorge Ramos has become the caravan's champion, and he's now out there demanding that the government of Mexico provide more buses and more trucks to get these now apparently 14,000 people up to the American border. And every time he appears on TV, it's a caravan of refugees. They're perfectly helpless. There are no terrorists. There are no criminals. And just go, go, go. Now, Tucker Carlson got to interview Jorge Ramos and asked how many caravan immigrants he personally planned to take into his home. And at that point, the interview began to break down. And Ramos was out there saying, this has nothing to do with the individuals. It has to do with nations. And you have to understand, these refugees are not a threat to the United States. And then he started I know that in Fox News, and Tucker Carlson interrupted him saying, don't start making this about Fox News being racist. this is a simple question. How many of the refugees are you going to personally house? And it kind of went downhill from there. And Ramos is wrong. These refugees are going to be harmful to the United States. Even if they don't commit crimes, even if MS-13 reforms stepping across the border, even if they're not carrying contagious diseases, they are going to be an additional strain on our already overstrained social service system. They're going to be a drain on the economy. Now, over at MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell is praising those in the migrant caravan and criticized supporters of Trump, saying Trump voters are loathing, desperately fearful people, that you're just being afraid of those people. Well, again, we now know for certain people from the Middle East are hiding among that 14,000. People from Mexico are using the opportunity to try and get in or get back into the United States of America here. So MSNBC is out there saying that Donald Trump is fear-mongering. Interestingly enough, though, Chapman University conducted a survey of American fears, and you want to know what was at the top of that list? Corrupt politicians. The environment came in at number 2. So what is Trump going to do about this? Because this is his biggest test. And it is, unfortunately, a lose-lose situation. If he stops the migrants at the border, the Democrats are going to denounce him as racist and inhumane and cruel and tyrannical. If the migrants get through that fence, it'll be seen as Trump failing to protect our borders, which is one of his major campaign platforms here. As of right now, there are 2,100 National Guard troops on the border. Just 2,100. Most of them are not armed. And here's where it gets really weird. Last April, Defense Secretary Jim Mattis authorized that as many as 4,000 troops could be sent to the border pending approval of participating state governors. The memo allowed for the cost of the deployment to be reimbursed through federal funds, but also limited the National Guard's role, prohibiting National Guard forces from interacting with any of the migrants or taking on a law enforcement role. So what does Mattis think these National Guard troops are going to do? Just wave at the migrants as they pour into the country? I mean, the way Mattis has set this up, those National Guard can't do anything to stop them from coming into this country. It's just amazing. More photos, again, from the caravan are showing these caravan migrants carrying bags full of food and other things that are clearly stamped with the logo of U.S. aid, which, of course, ultimately is paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. You are now being forced to pay for the invasion of your country. Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch is saying the wall is not enough. President Trump should order criminal investigation of how the caravans have been organized and financed. And based on Judicial Watch's reporting from Guatemala, it is likely that Americans are involved. And I would not be at all surprised about that. Now, there is already a second migrant caravan that has formed up. It's about 1,000 Hondurans. It's 200 miles behind the first one. So Trump had better send the army, the regular army, down to that border right now with whatever it's going to take to secure our border, because he made that campaign promise. And if he doesn't live up to it, he's a one-term president, and he's got to know that. According to Fox News, the caravan includes migrants from India, Bangladesh, and Africa, along with, of course, identified MS-13 gang members. We don't know how many are in there. We know there are some because they're being photographed, flashing the MS-13 gang sign here. So there may actually be a link between this migrant caravan and the phony bombs that were sent out to the Clintons and the Obamas and so forth, because it looks like this caravan of invaders has backfired on the Democrats. It's not working for them. people are not saying, yes, this is a great thing and we're going to vote for you. And as a matter of fact, the Democratic leadership has already sent out a notification to their various offices saying to just stop engaging on the caravan story and go back to other topics. They're sending out the message, drop it, just drop it. It's a loser for them. Rasmussen did a survey and found that 51% of likely U.S. voters believe the U.S. government should stop. All of those Hondurans headed this way. 38% say they shouldn't, that the Hondurans should be allowed into the U.S. while their applications for amnesty or refugee status are processed. But that's not the way refugee status works. You're supposed to apply for refugee status while you're still in your home country. But this is a huge margin, and I can see why the Democrats are backpedaling on this, and we're desperate enough to try and distract from all of this nonsense with these phony bombs. I mean, looking at how crude those bombs were, this was a rush job. I mean, this is amateur night. I just got an email from somebody who's apparently been visiting websites all over the net saying, on no websites anywhere can I find anyone who thinks this is a real threat to these Democrats and Soros. And I've been to dozens just today. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. And again, to recap the reasons why this is all fake. First of all, the bomb is just a pipe with a little tiny digital timer on it. There's no battery to power a blasting cap. The wires go to both ends of the pipe. That's not how you build a bomb. And why mail a bomb to somebody that's running on a timer? It gives them an opportunity to escape. It's just plain silly. And of course, these packages were all mailed to people who don't open their own mail. This is as phony as it becomes. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a phone call from Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I think it's a big mistake, Mike, to if the Army goes down there and acts like an Army. I think the Army should go down there and just assist ICE. And when these caravan people come, they should just help them, put them into trucks, and handcuff them and bring them to FEMA camps. And then after they're in the FEMA camps, put them on airplanes and send them back to their country of origin, and then charge that country of origin for the air flight and for room and board while they were in the United States. You know, I worked on ships for years, and any time a ship had a stowaway, that shipping company had to pay for them to go back to the country where they came from. And that really made the shipping companies really extra careful about not having stowaways get on their boats. And I think that we have to punish the countries in which these people are coming from, because they're wink, wink, nod, nod, and shipping their people to our country, hoping to get residual money and remittances out of this country. It's all about money. The best way to punish these countries that these people are coming from is hit them where it hurts, and that's financially.
Well,
and
Trump's already going to do that. Trump's cutting off foreign aid to these countries right now. Apparently, when Mike Pence had his conversation with the president of Venezuela, basically found out, and this is, I think, been confirmed through other sources, the governments of Mexico and Guatemala just sort of formed this partnership to create this highway between Honduras and the United States. Including paperwork and apparently some vehicles and trucks. The problem is those 14,000 people are not just going to line up at the border to be processed by ICE. They're going to try and crash on through the way they did the border between Guatemala and Mexico and vanish into the U.S. heartland, where ICE is going to have a lot of trouble finding them. I think it's time that Donald Trump step up to the plate and keep his promise he was going to secure the border. And basically, it's going to be an object lesson to basically stop this from going on, because if we keep allowing the people in and we take care of them and we feed them, more are going to come, even if it's in the FEMA camps. They're going to keep on coming.
Well, Mike,
our current policy doesn't work. Okay, Joe, stay on the line. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Joe in Tennessee, and we're talking about the migrant caravan and, in a larger context, the terrible state of our immigration system as it is. And, of course, basically the open borders, globalist, George Soros people hate the idea of national borders. And our national borders have been under attack by these globalists for quite some time, which could be construed as an act of clandestine warfare. But it's time for Donald Trump to put up or shut up, because he campaigned on shutting down that border. And yes, there is a wall being built, but obviously the migrant caravan is heading for where the wall has not yet been built, because if it had been completed, this wouldn't be happening. But I disagree with your idea of allowing them into our country for processing, because they're not going to stand in line to be processed by ICE. They're going to try and flood on through and disappear.
Well, Mike, what scares me is if the military has a confrontation and shoots even one or two of these people, it's going to be a huge uproar, and it's going to look bad on everybody. My thing is that you know how easy it is to string razor wire and barbed wire and put up electrified fences? I mean, I'm sure we have people in that caravan that are telling us the location, they're monitoring it. We have our spies, no doubt, and they're not going to come and surprise us and break through. We don't have to let that happen. My point is, the Mexicans are going to not allow them to just. Personally, we ought to close the border with Mexico if it was up to me, and just let the Mexicans sit with them. They're not doing. As far as I'm concerned,
I agree with that one.
This is almost an act of war by Mexico on the United States,
and I think we should treat it as one.
Government like that.
And we should treat it as an act of war.
I totally agree with that.
Okay, we know that Mexico gave these 14,000 people these temporary travel documents to make it legal for them to be crossing Mexican territory heading for our border. And it's an invasion. Let's understand that that's exactly what's going on here. This country has been going through a slow motion invasion, both of refugees and illegal immigrants, and it's time to put it to a stop.
Well, I agree, but at the same time, we have to, the politics of it with the UN and the mammy-pammy liberals. We can't really allow the clubs and the shootings, which is what happens in Israel, and then all of a sudden it's all over the news. So I think we ought to do is, I've always thought the wall itself is a mistake. I think they should make a fence with electrified wire and razor wire and have a no man's zone between wire boundaries and put robots and AI and helicopters and minefields, but because it's flexible. And I don't think that people act like this 14,000 man column is coming in and it's going to be a big surprise. It isn't. We'll know where it's coming.
Oh, there's no question. They can't hide that. If nothing else, I'm sure that there are satellites overhead keeping an eye on where they are. But when I say they're just going to flood on through, is they're going to simply overpower those 1,200 National Guardsmen who don't have guns and are under orders not to interact with the migrants, by direct orders of SecDef Mattis. So they're just going to push on through. They're going to bloody them up the way they did the Mexican police who were sent to try and keep them from coming in from Guatemala, which in hindsight was kind of a token gesture because they only sent down a couple of dozen Mexican police and they all got beat up pretty badly. And that's what's going to happen down there on our southern border to those National Guardsmen unless Donald Trump uses his authority as the commander-in-chief. Now, yes, he's given the Pentagon control of the military in terms of the prosecution of wars in other countries, but Trump is still the boss. And Trump can issue the orders, and he can fire anybody who doesn't go along with the orders. And given that these migrants are not, in fact, walking up here, they're riding in buses and trucks, they could be here day after tomorrow. The time to be mobilizing the military, at least 20,000 strong, is right now.
I totally agree, but I think that there are techniques in crowd control that can be used. You can use old railroad cars to steer the crowd and actually start culling it like you would do with cattle, and then you can get them to a manageable rate where you can just put them on buses to FEMA camps and then let the countries pay.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with
that.
that. I think they need to be turned back. And I agree with you. If anyone actually got shot, it would be a PR nightmare. The liberals would seize hold of it. But the military has these area denial weapons, and I put up articles on both of them at whatreallyhappened.com. One is the LRAD, which is that very loud sound generator that is way above the threshold of pain. Then you have that microwave area denial system that heats the water in your skin, and it makes you feel like you're burning, even though you're actually not. We already have these systems. They should be on the way to the border right now. In fact, probably some of these microwave systems ought to be mounted on helicopters to basically just go where the crowd is and just start pushing them all back. So anyway,
yeah, I just hope nobody starts shooting at them and blames it on the military.
Well, anything is possible here.
Be a false
this
flag.
is Trump's This is Trump's moment. He's either going to do what he promised or he's going to be a single-term president. Thank you for the call, Joe. We're going to let you go. We have other callers waiting, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And flipping on back to this very desperate false flag bomb thing to try and build sympathy for the Democrats here. Apparently, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo claimed that he received a device trying to hop on the bandwagon. But according to the NYPD, no, there wasn't a bomb or even a phony bomb in the package. Just grandstanding. Everybody's out there. Did you get your bomb today? You know, it's the fashion. You get a bomb today. All right, so back to the phones here. Phil in Illinois, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, my friend.
Hello.
You know, I can't believe what I've been hearing about this caravan and things. You know, we got 6, 7 families running as we speak. They're not Mexicans. They are white. The same things going on in Honduras and Guatemala. And the cocaine, the drug gangs are all down there running their thing. These people are trying to escape with their lives. Many of the fathers have been killed, left with 5 or 6 children, a woman, how she's supposed to go to work or anything. And cocaine happens to be more valuable than the stock market by about a factor of 3 times.
Especially today.
And it's going to keep going. Yeah, and we need the military down there. I'll agree with that. We need to not have them at the border. We need to have them in Honduras, Guatemala, all those beautiful Latin American countries that people would not choose to leave if their lives didn't depend on them. We need to go clean those drug gangs out, or fill this border and bring the drug gangs up here, and so the wonderful Americans can't get out, and see how they like it for a while, where they're breathing their last breath. Who knows, from day to day, starving and all this, that, and the other. We've caused this. And now we want to, of course, Trump's in. He wants to keep his arms folded like he always does, and just let him die off and whatever. I'm telling you, we're keeping rich people rich with this cocaine and stuff and drug pipeline down there.
Oh yeah,
Mike,
and a lot of it's tied in with U.S. intelligence agencies. And in fact, there was a story that one of our members posted on the website today. Apparently, over in Africa, a United Nations truck that's supposed to be carrying humanitarian aid rolled over, and police discovered it was filled with all these contraband minerals that they were trying to smuggle out. So there's a lot of corruption. But here's where I'm coming from, okay? The people in Guatemala and Honduras have to fix their own nation. We, the American people, have got enough on our hands trying to fix our nation. And we've got to close the border. And remember, Eisenhower completely shut down illegal immigration across that southern border with only 1/10 of the manpower of the current Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It was called Operation Wetback, which, of course, the liberals would scream, bloody murder about that name today. But if Eisenhower can do it, Trump can do it. And well, I'm not sure that a wall was really necessary. We just have to cut off the financial incentives for people to sneak into this country, and throwing some crocodiles in the Rio Grande probably wouldn't hurt either.
Well, if you're not going to be able to live in your country, I mean, it has nothing to do with financial. It's your last breath. We would react the same exact way, especially if this government keeping the rich in like they're keeping in. I can't believe people are this cold-hearted to see what their government's doing. Like I say, I'm not Republican or Democrat, never have been, never will be, because they're one and the same. But to not give people their lives where they can breathe. I mean, does it have to be stated that we would act the same way if you're under assault, where you're going to kill your whole family and that? So it can just become, Latin America can become a drug store down there where the world comes to get their drugs. That's what they're turning it into.
Well, that's why the U.S. will never militarily intervene in there, because our own intelligence agencies and many of our politicians, look at the Clintons, for example, they're neck deep in all of this. If you go back and you look at the history of the Clintons when they were in Arkansas back in the 1980s, they were up to their neck in the Iran-Contra scandal, which involved smuggling guns down to Nicaragua and smuggling cocaine back, and they all got very rich off of that. They don't want that to go away.
Right. Ronald Reagan was the one that got the Iran-Contra thing going with no less than a Oliver North. And with all, he was found with all kinds of cocaine. They did it on purpose to ruin this country, to keep our attention diverted from what they're doing, getting the richer and taking countries over that. I'm sad to be an American. And then I hear people talking like this.
On that one, I agree with you. But just to be accurate, Iran-Contra was actually started by George Herbert Walker Bush because Reagan was already starting to deteriorate from his Alzheimer's. But Iran-Contra needed a covert U.S. base of operations for the smuggling pipeline to go down to Nicaragua, and that was out of Arkansas. And if you see the movie American Made with Tom Cruise, much of that actually did happen.
Yeah, okay. Mike, I want to thank you. We've touched on some issues, food for thought for people, and I appreciate your show, and you're doing a great job, and I thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Phil. We're going to let you go. And I know I get a lot of emails saying that, it's heartless not to let all these people flood into our country. But, when I was growing up, we had a saying, charity begins at home. And I don't think we should be spending money to let refugees or illegal immigrants into this country and take care of them while we have legal American citizens sleeping in alleys and eating out of trash dumpsters. We have to take care of our own first and foremost. So, Trump, like I said, this is your watershed moment. You campaigned on this very issue, and everybody is watching to see what you do. And if you do just sit back with your arms crossed and say, oh, well, then you are definitely a single-term president. Okay, Art Off the Grid, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, and you are touting exactly what I've been saying. Sad to say I tuned in about a half hour into the broadcast, so whatever you said that first 30 minutes I missed. But
it was about these phony bombs that were being delivered to high-profile Democrats in what is a pathetic attempt to build sympathy.
And that was the primary reason for my call, was I kind of figured you were going to be talking about that, but I do a talk radio broadcast on the internet myself. I'm on 3 days a week. And last night, I was talking about this very thing. And it was amazing to me how many people in the chat room were saying exactly the same thing you were saying about, it's not like we don't have enough room in this and that and the other. And my argument to these people was, I'm not saying we don't have the room. What I'm saying is we don't have the resources.
Yes.
We can't even we can't afford the ones we've got already, and you want us to take another 7,000 to 15,000? Come on, folks. This is absolute insanity. But, on this bomb thing, I want to remind everyone, shortly after September 11th, Mike, I'm going to put your memory to the test, because I know you got a really good memory. So I'm going to test your memory here. What was the big thing after September 11th?
The anthrax letters.
Bingo, exactly. So, here's what I've been putting out. Would you be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, to find out, I'm not saying this is the case because we're early on in this, but if we are to believe the polls that are suggesting that Republicans are overwhelmingly blowing this thing out of the water in the midterms against the Democrats, would it be so surprising to find out that all of these so-called bombs are not what I call false flags? I call them staged events to drum up sympathy for the Democrats to get... come on. It would not be the first time that this tactic has been used.
Oh, the Democrats love to play victim all the time. Oh, we're all victims. You're victims. You're victims. Somebody did a spoof Democratic ad, which is on the main page at whatreallyhappened.com. It's very well done, and you need to take a look at it. It's very funny. And part of that pitch from the young lady who is delivering the commercial is saying, you're all victims, and we're going to take care of you. And that has been the pitch of the Democrats, because the liberals have really run out of any other ideas other than identity politics, the politics of personal destruction. This bomb thing was a Hail Mary pass because of the poll numbers coming in regarding the immigration and the migrant caravan coming to the border. It's not going well for the Democrats. It's working against them.
What I find interesting was, the whole Christina Blasey Ford was a Hail Mary pass that failed.
Yes.
So it doesn't surprise anyone. Why would it surprise anyone that they're trying another Hail Mary? This is how they work.
Yes.
And on that spoof that you're talking about, can we link to that through whatreallyhappened.com?
You mean the ad? It's up on YouTube. Yeah. You can embed it in any website. And by the way, I do ask that everybody take that ad and post it everywhere. It's very well done. It's very funny, and it really hits the nail on the head of what the Democratic agenda is really all about.
What's the title of it so we can look that up?
It just says Democratic ad.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, appreciate it, Mike, and have a great one, man.
Okay. If you look on my website, it's titled New Democrat Campaign Ad. And again, it's a YouTube video, and you can embed it anywhere that you can. And I advise you to do that. I'm surprised YouTube hasn't pulled it down. Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. We're going to let you go and switch over to Emmerich in Vancouver. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Well, I'm just listening to your show, and I totally agree with you that you guys got to take care of your border. You guys spend so much on the military. If you can't defend your own border,
yep,
what's it all for?
Well, it's to go on out and steal
Also,
wealth from other countries.
I think that if you guys tell those guys exactly what's going to happen when they cross that border, there should be no surprise. And if they decide to cross, it's on their own free will. That's their decision. Can't blame you. Just tell them ahead what's going to happen. So it's no surprise.
Yep. But again, I
that's
agree.
I know it's going to be political, this and that, and you can try to use the, not the heavy weapons, but have them there in case anything goes wrong. You guys can take care of it. You guys
I am absolutely stunned that the 2,100 National Guardsmen already at the border, most of them are unarmed.
Yeah,
what are they supposed to use? Harsh language?
I know. Yeah, exactly. So that means, like, you're not really serious. So here, Trump can either prove that he is not the paper tiger, that he's either going to be a paper tiger or not.
Yep.
He means business, or he's full of hot air.
Yeah, if he doesn't stop that caravan at the border, it's effectively all over for his administration.
There's going to be another caravan, and then another caravan.
There's already a second one that's formed up. And, of course, this is what the liberals want. The liberal and George Soros and the globalists, they want to do to the United States what they did to Europe. And we can see how well that worked out over in Europe.
So, but if Trump doesn't act, then that raises a question. Is he part of the problem? Is he part of the New World Order in disguise?
I don't know that he's part of the New World Order, but he's definitely a weak leader. He's too easily manipulated by those around him. We know that he's very subject to flattery. But again, if he does not stop that caravan at the border, effectively his administration is over. Nobody's going to listen to him anymore. He'll spend the next 2 years as a lame duck, and then he'll get voted out of office.
He's going to lose all respect.
Yeah.
He's going to lose all respect, I think. He's going to be a paper tiger. Oh, yeah, he says, but he doesn't act. So, again, you got to tell him, drop leaflets, whatever, over bullhorns, tell him, let them know exactly what's going to happen when they cross that border. Let them cross that border. Let them go 20 feet. That's it. Stop them there.
Well, again,
anyways, that's up to you guys. That's my opinion, and maybe I'm cruel and whatnot. I know they're poor people and this and that, but you still got to maintain order, and they can apply and come through in legally. You can't just change it. What would happen if you go to another country and you break their laws? What do?
They throw you in jail.
They act. So, you guys got to act. And to imprison 15,000 people now and all the expense, why? Don't even let them come in.
Yeah, just turn them around. Tell Mexico and Guatemala, look, you truck them up here, you truck them back. And I do agree with that other caller, that any expenses incurred by the United States come out of the foreign aid being sent to Mexico and Guatemala, who, by the way, have shown their ingratitude for all that foreign aid by allowing this to happen.
And comparing this to the Palestinians in Israel, there's no comparison. Palestinians, they've got a legitimate beef.
Yep.
They're on their own land.
Yep.
They were just demonstrating 300 feet away from the border. They were being picked off. There's no comparison. You can't compare these two. Not at all. So, but anyways, they got to show that they mean business. Maybe I'm just too mean. I don't know. too much politicking and whatnot, and you know, the Democrats are going to cry and these guys are going to cry. Let everybody know ahead of time what you're going to do. There's no surprise. You don't want to do it, tell them not to come. If they come, this is what's going to happen.
Okay, I got a solution, okay? Let's find 17,000 liberal Democrats who are willing to sponsor one of these migrants and take them into their home and just privately cover the cost of feeding and housing and educating them. And that's going to make everybody happy, I think. But I seriously doubt you're going to see that because the Democrats want to bring them all in, make them Democratic voters, and otherwise ignore them.
Yeah. So, anyways, you guys got major problems over there. There's no question.
Yes, we do.
No question. You guys got major problems. Yeah,
we got major problems.
It's too bad. Too much politicking. I think too much BS, and you can't do this because of this.
All right. Well, yeah, I need to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle, feeds our body with the nutrients we need to keep healthy. Just listen to what Arthur had to say.
I was just calling to tell you what a great product you have. I had used this about 10 years ago after I had congestive heart failure. And it fixed me up and got me going for the last 10 years. Lately, I've been having heart trouble again, so I placed another order because this was the only thing that ever worked. I just wanted to let you know that you have a great product. Thank you very much.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, if you've bought small electronic devices, you've probably noticed many of them, especially LCD screen devices, will have this little peel-off plastic over the display that's printed with what the display will look like when the device is on. And that's part of the store display, so it looks cool. And when you get the device, you peel that off and just throw it away after you put batteries in and use the device. Here's the thing. I just found a high-resolution version of that photograph of the bomb that was sent to CNN. And that little piece of thin plastic is still on the face of that digital clock. Somebody put a battery in it. You can see literally two different sets of digital numbers, one over the other. Now, if you're not peeling off that little piece of plastic, then it makes it very difficult to, first of all, set the correct time on that clock, let alone set the time for an alarm. So that's another indicator. This is a hoax and a very hastily put together one. All right, let's go back to the phones. Dustin in New Jersey, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Now I know why my my clock says 12:47 all the time. I never thought about peeling it off.
Well, at least it's right twice a day.
Yeah. Mike, breaking news. Cuomo's bomb wound up being Reuben on rye with a pickle on the side. What a joke this whole thing is. Isn't it a coincidence? The caravan's on its way.
Yeah.
And pipe bombs are on the way, too.
Yeah.
Can't make this up, Mike. Oh, my God. I mean.
Well, somebody made it up, but they did a really bad job of it. This is sloppy. This is high school quality work.
Yeah, Mike, this is one of the reasons I got rid of my cable box and I don't watch TV. I don't watch reality TV shows, soap operas, and sports because, I listen to you and I do my own research because what we're witnessing is besides the bad stock market again today and yesterday, because this is what's really, not only that, but with this, Trump pulling out of the intermediate, can it get any worse? I said this before. Can it get any worse, Mike? What's going on? You got all these combined things coming together, And I just want to tell people this 15,000 migrant thing. This is all political because and slash the economic because this is to hurt Trump. Basically,
yeah, but it's failed.
This is what.
It's failed.
It is.
And the Democrats are panicking now because the polls are showing that the majority of likely voters want these people stopped at the border. And they're already backpedaling away from this thing. They want the story to go away. And so far today, there's been hardly a mention. They're still going on and on about these phony bombs, and they're just hard selling it. Oh, feel sorry for the Democrats, some conservatives. It was Donald Trump. Seriously, we're seeing that from Soros' son, ABC. They're saying ultimately Donald Trump is to blame for all of this. Okay, all right, now. Yeah, Dustin, stay on the line. We got to do a break for station identification. We will be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy Cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the Energy Cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the Energy Cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. And we are talking with Dustin in New Jersey about Donald Trump and the caravan and how this whole thing has backfired on the Democrats, because the polls are showing the majority, an overwhelming majority of likely voters want the migrant caravan stopped at the border. I don't know what the Democrats thought they were going to do with this, but it clearly did not work. And that may be the reason for this Hail Mary pass with these phony bombs, to distract the corporate media from spending any more attention talking about this migrant caravan, because that's now become a negative issue. And the Democrats are trying to pull back from it. They're trying to delink from it.
Mike, you know, there was this report that Governor, was it Abbott? He said there was like terrorists from Malaysia. Now, if Obama was still in, would it be okay for him to drone the crowd of people coming? You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference if you're dropping a drone on one terrorist, supposedly, in, like, Raqqa, say, right? How many bombs did we drop in Raqqa?
Oh.
We killed, like, so many civilians.
Yeah, we
You know?
did.
I'm
Okay,
saying-
back off.
You know what I mean, Mike?
Back off here a second, okay? Actually causing physical harm to these migrants would be a public relations nightmare for Donald Trump. The liberals would be up in arm. The Soros people would be up in arm. You know, we're all supposed to feel sorry for these migrants. And I have to be honest, I don't feel sorry for them, okay? If your country's in trouble, you work to fix it. That's what Claire and I have been doing for the last quarter of a century now. You don't just run someplace else and say, take us in. We don't like the way things were going in our country. And, you know, what's gone wrong with Honduras, the Hondurans have got to fix it. Same thing for Guatemala. It's not our problem to solve. Now, of course, the Democrats are trying to flood the country with all of these migrants because they can get them to vote Democratic. Soros is flooding our country with all these migrants because he's getting ready to do to the United States what he's already done to Europe. And we have already seen what that did to Europe, and it was not a pretty picture. So, again, it's time for Trump to show that he's a man of his word. The majority of likely voters want the migrants stopped. And we don't have to use lethal force like CS tear gas, rubber bullets, LRAD, area denial system, all kinds of things that can be used to basically get in front of them. But it's got to be deployed now. Trump should be issuing the orders right now.
Right?
I'm sorry?
But you know what I mean? Like, what's the difference between these peaceful people and the bombs we drop overseas? What makes them less, you know what I mean? Like, what makes them less of human beings? Everybody's for the migrant. What about the people in Syria? You know what I mean? Like, what about them? We drop bombs on them day and night.
I see your point. I mean, we talk about the civilians being killed by the U.S. military in these other countries, and, you know, the liberals just shrug their shoulder. They don't really care. And they don't really care about these migrants and illegal immigrants and refugees. They just see them as potential Democratic voters. And other than that, they could care less. It's somebody else's problem to deal with them.
And then, Mike, real quick, I'm going to switch. Like, there was if you go to RT on YouTube, click on the round RT and then look up Trump globalism. Trump's a nationalist, but he believes in the globalist imperialism, basically. You know what I mean? Like, he believes in this this hegemony thing. Do you see that? Like, even though
yeah.
he's a nationalist, he believes in. So
Yeah,
what's
very,
the difference, though?
very much so. Well, there's a difference between globalism and hegemony. The individual nations are still out there. They're just leashed and collared and muzzled in service to the United States, much the way the United States is leashed and muzzled and collared in service to Israel. The globalists see a single planet without any borders whatsoever, and that is the difference between the two approaches.
Well, you know what? At the end, Mike, we're still on a leash then, right?
Yeah, lots of leashes in our lives here.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Mike. Have a
All
good
right.
show.
Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go and switch to Doreen in Vancouver. Doreen, thank you for waiting so patiently. And what is on your mind today?
Oh, well, I kind of agree with my fellow Canadian that called in a little while ago. They have to be stopped. And what makes you think they're going to stop at your border? They're going to head up to Canada where Trudeau will be waiting with open arms, because that's what we do up here when we bring in the white helmets and their families. And I don't know. How did Hungary stop them from coming in? They built a great big 10-foot wire fence, and they couldn't get over. And they manned that fence. How did they? And they stopped them. Like, we sound terrible. But I hate to say this, but we should ask Trump to bring a few of the IDF Netanyahu. They don't mind shooting women and children.
I draw the line.
Israelis over here.
I draw the line at gunfire. I draw the line at anything that causes permanent harm.
I know. And if the Americans and Canadians only knew how bad they're treating the Palestinians and shooting the women and children, and they would understand that. I agree with you, Mike. But I've got an idea. Why don't you let them through the border and have buses waiting for them and pile them all onto a bus and then turn them around and drive them back again? That's a good idea.
Well, it might work, but you'd have to be able to lock all the windows and doors on the buses and have some kind of a cage around the driver. I would imagine that when the passengers on the bus realize they're going back over the border, they would not exactly maintain a Zen-like calm. And there'd probably be violence.
I don't know, but that is one idea. Come on, get on this bus. We'll show you where to go. But anyway, I'm watching out to see if they stop at your border. And I will say, if Trump stops them, man, the Americans will rally around him to vote for the Republicans. They will. Because there's a lot of
absolutely
people,
will.
even the Canadians, we don't want them either because they don't look like they're they're destitute. Some of them are really look quite healthy.
Yes.
Okay, Mike, I'll let you go, but I agree with you. Violence is not. Maybe a bus or a big chain link fence on the border. That might work. How fast can they put that up?
Well, I know the military have these rapid deployment barricades they can put up. There's got to be solutions out there, and I've already talked about some of them. But again, if Trump doesn't stop them at the border, I'll tell you where the buses are going to actually be taking all of these migrants. Anywhere that there is a red majority in the country, and on the drive up there, they're all going to be registered to vote. That's what's going to happen. There will, in fact, be buses.
How can you be registered? Yeah. I thought you have to be an American citizen to vote.
Our Democratic Party has gone outlaw. They are dependent on the illegal immigrant vote. They've even publicly admitted it. You know, their idea is we don't believe that voting should be restricted to U.S. citizens, and so we're going to ignore the law. And because they succeeded in 2016 in having state voter ID laws overturned, there's really no way to check. The people who are working at those polling places, somebody walks in, they've got a registration certificate, and they're allowed to vote. In a lot of places, it's now become illegal to ask about their citizenship. It's a total giveaway of our country.
Well, and you know, if Trump lets this through, there'll be another one and another one on the way, and they will end up in Canada because we're not that far from the borders, and look what's happened in Sweden and Denmark. My God, I hope that never happens in America or in Canada, because you can't just push people all together and expect them to mix like a bowl of soup or anything.
Yep.
Anyway, Mike, I appreciate you and Claire, and I know you're for peace, and God knows, me too. But I hope Trump stops them some way. The bus thing, that's the only thing I can think of. At least you could get half of them back. Yeah.
Well,
okay, Mike. I'll let you go on because I really enjoy your program and listening, and I get lots of news and what's going on in the world from you and Claire.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, goodbye. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And here is the issue. The way this nation handles the border is only making the problem worse. People from south of the border know they can get through. They know that once they get through, the Democrats will welcome them with open arms, shield them, protect them, register them to vote, get them into the so-called sanctuary cities and sanctuary state, kooky California. And as long as they keep doing that, the problem is going to get worse. Now, under Title VIII, all of these people aiding these illegal immigrants should be in jail. And Trump's unwillingness to enforce the law is very troubling, which is why I'm not 100% guaranteed he's going to do something about this migrant caravan heading for our border. It may just be all talk, and he's just going to sit back and say, oh, well. But I guarantee you the Democrats will have buses waiting at that point where they're crossing into the country, and they're going to bus all these people up to areas that are just slightly red and get them registered to vote to turn these districts blue. That's what's going to be happening here. Okay, back to the phones here. Mark in Montana. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Howdy, Michael. How you doing? Here's a suggestion. I'm kind of a simple farmer type of guy, and I'm looking at these pictures, and they're all men. Almost all of them are.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any with a bunch of women or children. They're all military-age men. I'm seeing a lot of them shooting gang signs and a lot of stuff. Hand every one of these guys a rifle and a battle pack and turn them around and send them home. I mean, maybe that's just a simple solution, but if it's such a bad place where they're from, they need to go back and affect change. And if there's 10,000 of them, that's a pretty sizable army to turn loose on their own government. I mean, we'll bust them. Hell, I'll pay to have them bust back out.
If they were motivated to do that. But again, the Democrats basically appeal to their victimhood. You know, you're a victim, come to us, we'll take care of you. And that's a very attractive thing. Unfortunately, people who fall for that don't understand how much of their own lives they lose by going for that. Sit down, do nothing, we'll take care of you, we'll put you on welfare, and you just sit there. And what kind of a life is that to have? I mean, to be very, very honest.
You know, Michael, I mean, here's the deal. I'm not stupid. I see what the left is doing in this country, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a libertarian. I actually flew 1,800 miles back home to Montana to vote specifically. Instead of taking my little vacation time, I went home to specifically vote against a couple knuckleheads that are Democrats up there. And I did not vote Libertarian. I went ahead and voted Republican because I think it was a viable option. But I'm not stupid. I see what these guys are doing. They're pushing for a revolution in this country. They really are. I've been to places where revolutions have gone on. I don't know if you have or not, but civil wars are horrible. They're not civil.
No.
They're not nice. And the people that suffer are the women, the children, and the weak. They're the ones that suffer the most and the left is pushing for that crap here in this country, and I think they better beware because they won't win it. They won't. I mean, the normal. I call this a war of normalcy versus. I don't even want to call them immoral. They're amoral. They have no morals at all. They're fruit leaps or wackadoos, as my girlfriend calls them. They're not normal, and they're trying to push an agenda where they want us basically declared as abnormal. The normal mom, dad, children, people that go to work every day as being an abnormal lifestyle, and that's what the left has done all over the world. China, they kill their intelligentsia, and I guess it was more in Vietnam where they killed anybody that wore glasses because that was a sign of being an intellectual.
No, that was Cambodia.
Cambodia, okay. In Russia, they killed anybody that was educated and could read above a third grade level. I see what they're doing. I know what they're doing. I'm not stupid. I'm a student of history. I have a degree in it. And they will lose. They're going to lose. The normal people in this country are not going to put up with it. And they'll try to say, well, there's no American spirit left. There is American spirit left. The normal people in this country want to be left alone. That want to be left alone are not going to put up with these people. They're really not. And they're not going to get their revolution. They're not going to get their red revolution like they're pushing. And these Antifa scum are going to all get, thrown in the pokey when they try to pull their crap. So that's my opinion on it.
Well, again, I would hope this is not going to come about. But again, because there's no clearly delineated internal border where the liberals are on this side and the conservatives are on this side, what it will amount to will be simply violence in the streets all over this country. And I don't want to see that happen. But on the other hand, keep one thing in mind. The conservatives have guns. And if a liberal sees a gun, they curl up on the floor and cry and have to play with those little bubble wrap popper things for a while.
Right, and I'll tell you, like I said, I'm not paranoid. I can just see it coming, though. And I actually went down and bought some extra ammunition the other day. I mean, it's. I would love to be able to just lead my life in peace and be left alone, but they're not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah,
the war on normalcy is what it is.
I mean, did you see the reaction to the announcement that for administrative purposes, the U.S. government is going to say there are two genders based on your plumbing, and that's it. And the liberals just went ballistic. Oh, you're discriminating against us. It's just a paperwork thing. And the rest of the world has to be looking at our society and wondering what went wrong. Is it all the lead in the drinking water? Is it all the prescription antidepressants? Because taking a deep breath and stepping back and looking at our present society, it does seem, as your girlfriend said, wackadoodle.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I mean, back on the farm, you had the bulls, you had the heifers, and there wasn't anything in between.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you couldn't turn a bull into a heifer, and you couldn't turn a heifer into a bull. Now, you could have turned a bull into a steer, but that's a whole other story. It's still a bull. It's still a male. I don't understand it. I don't understand where they get 26 genders. I don't see where they get 3 genders. I mean, I guess I'm getting old and time for me to pass on into the other life or something. I don't know.
Well, you're right. I'm like you. I'm a farm kid, and there are the roosters and there are the hens, and there wasn't anything in between. It's just this fantasy, and that they're playing to people who are being intentionally confused about their own identity. And then, of course, the liberals take advantage of that politically.
Right, and I think a lot of that, they're pushing this gender confusion in schools now. I don't understand how they can push that.
Yes, they are.
A 10-year-old kid. I mean, what the hell? I mean, that's you talk about abnormal. You talk about a war on normalcy. And then, you mentioned, well, that's, I'm a Christian, and that's kind of a wrong way to, the Bible says that's wrong. Oh, well, you're just a hater. You're a hater and a racist and a bigot and a homophobe. Well, not really. I'm just pretty much a normal dude, and that ain't normal. I have the right to look at something and call it abnormal. That's my right as a human being.
Yeah. It is. I personally choose not to use that particular language, but some of the stuff coming out of the liberal agenda is downright silly, like men using the women's restrooms, and what an epic fail that one was. Anyway, listen, Mark, I got to let you go. I got to take a break for commercials. I got callers waiting on the line. We will be right back.
Do you or someone you know suffer from chest pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, or irregular heartbeat? Are you looking for a more natural solution to overcome these health challenges? You hear the ads all the time. If this stuff's so good, why doesn't my doctor prescribe it? That's easy. Doctors are not trained in natural medicine. Extendivite Heart Tonic does want you to be as healthy as you can be, and it really works. Take Extendivite for 6 months and your doctor will say, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. It's working for you. Get the dependability of Extendivite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant 'em anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And once again, the postal address to send a donation is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during normal business hours, extension 3 at all other times. And don't forget that Front Side Academy deal. which is from now through the end of the year. And that really is a good deal. And if I lived in the Western United States, I'd take advantage of that one myself because I do enjoy shooting. Okay. I'm into black powder, by the way. You learn how to make your one shot count that way. All right, let's go back to the phones here. Mark in Philadelphia, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. That song you just played, the bumper music, is highly appropriate for what I'm about to share.
Okay.
I think this is economic. I think at the surface level of this, the evil powers that be want to put us at odds with each other. Okay, over race,
yes,
gender, whatever. Okay.
Divide and
now, I
conquer.
watched these videos on republicbroadcasting.org. I watched the videos from Judicial Watch, and I heard Fitton talked last night with Lou Dobbs recently. Anyway, so it's economics, man. It's economics, because these people, look, I feel for them, but you know, the Central America was once a place where American companies could go and do the subcontracting work or whatever for, you know, and then bring the products back to America. But now many of those jobs have went to China, right? So I feel for these people, but they are being supported in going to our border to help take down our lower class. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, we have contractors like Accenture who are working with India to bring Indians over for subcontracting jobs and also direct jobs through the H-1B visa program.
Yes.
Now, our great President Trump, who wants to make America great again, if he really did, he would put a moratorium on 550,000 H-1B visas that have been approved since the beginning of the year. So we have, at the lower level, we have an onslaught of an invasion, which will take down the lower class jobs. Even if they're already a threat anyway, they're already at threat anyway. So, but in the middle class, we have the import of all these smart people from India. I guess we've all just gone dumb. I don't buy it. It's ridiculous. So, and then we have it now on this other. So it's all economic.
You know,
like what
you have
said.
to look. You have to look at our education system and what it's putting on out. We have an article a little further down in the talking points that under Common Core, academic achievement and skill level and test scores have been in steady decline. And one of the arguments for the H-1B visas is that young people that have been educated in places like India have skill sets Americans can't compete with. So you have to share some of the blame over there with our education system.
Okay, so then we have the economic onslaught for all these kids, over $1 trillion in debt to the government for student aid. Okay, I don't buy that. By the way, I'm a technically minded and technically skilled person, so I kind of offended what you said there, that we don't have enough technically minded people. I'm one of them that's been displaced, by the way,
okay.
Mr. Rivero. Okay, so the deal is, I don't buy that. I think we have enough smart people in America, and if there were programs put forth like right now to help get the skill set back up with vocational programs, vocational technical type programs, which would, you know, like intense focused training, I think we could get back up to speed pretty quick. So I take it that's a plan to invade our country and take us down economically. And like you say, all wars are bankers' wars. And this is war. This is economic war right within our own borders. It's not over there. It's not somewhere over there in some foreign land. It's right here. It's an economic war. I put that forth to you, Michael Rivero, and I hope you would ponder that and expand on it. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call here. And again, we have to be careful that we don't oversimplify what's going on. Yes, the Democrats like to play people off of each other, make them feel like they're victims to exploit them politically. Much of the offshoring of jobs and the H-1B visas is in fact motivated by economics, and the economy is in serious trouble, and the money junkies are just being forced to more and more desperate extreme measures to try and at least maintain the illusion the economy is still working. But as we've pointed out, it's got a finite lifespan. When people like Mark can't work, they can't buy products in the stores, and it all starts to come apart, and it's already starting to happen. Okay, we're going to take another break for commercials. We'll be back with more phone calls and news after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective, and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phone lines now to Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I just want to, I'm sure you're aware that we've got all kinds of homeless around Southern California.
Yes.
I mean, you go around the river, around the railroad tracks, and you see nothing but tents.
Yep.
And my daughter went downtown L.A. and she says, you just see these tarpaulins all over the place down there in these prop tents.
Yep.
Yesterday, she was pretty upset about it because, she hadn't been down there in a while, and she said it got a lot worse. And then a while ago, I went to San Francisco, and I'm riding on the metro train, and I see all these prop tents and shelters around on the rail lines up against the walls. And down here in Long Beach, they got these homeless shelters planned for all these people, and there's been some backlash to that. But we can ill afford to take 4,000 more refugees up here. There's no jobs for the people here. But part of this homelessness is fueled by the opioid crisis, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of talk about these 4,000 refugees coming up this way, but they probably wouldn't come unless that one they had a month or two ago of 1,000. What they do with them? I didn't hear the outcome of that. I think a lot of those probably made it in. And if they did, the word went back that, hey, they're getting in. Or they said they wouldn't let them in, but they did. And is that what happened to that first group of 1,000?
I think you've got your timeline a little wrong. The group of 1,000 got through the border between Guatemala and Mexico, and it has been growing ever since, and it's now up to 14,000. But the point you're making is absolutely valid. We should not be, bringing in all these people from the third world when we have legal American citizens who are living in tents all over the city. And here on Oahu, we have 8,000 homeless, and it's easy to dismiss it and say it's because of the opioid crisis. That may be true in some cases, not all. Claire and I are involved in a couple of programs to try and deal with this crisis, and a lot of these homeless are just people who moved out here. They were going to have a job. The company they worked for went out of business, and they literally did not have enough money to go back to the mainland. And driving down our little street, it's not uncommon to see an entire household worth of goods dumped on the sidewalk for the heavy trash pickup. And it's basically a bailout pile or an eviction pile because there's stuff in there from every single room in the house. So you're looking at the aftermath of a tragedy here. But absolutely, we've got to take care of our own people first. If there were no homeless in America, if everybody had a comfortable lifestyle, if we had the money, then, we have an immigration program, and it does let 1.1 million people in every year, and that should be sufficient. And the people pushing this open borders nonsense, they're causing a lot of destruction. They did all over Europe, and they're going to do it in this country. They don't care. They're just in love with this idea of a world without borders and a one world government and a one world private central bank. And that's the agenda they're pushing. And you look at their response to what's been going on in Europe with all the knife attacks and the gang rapes, and their attitude is, well, it's a period of adjustment and it's all going to work out in the end. And generally, no, it's not going to work out in the end because migration is a filtering process. We're not getting the people from Honduras and Guatemala who are doing well in those countries. They're staying right where they are right now. The people with skills and jobs and money, they're comfortable. They're going to stay right there. We're getting the people who couldn't make it in those countries. Why does anybody think they're going to make it in this one?
Well, this first came to my mind was in 1965 when they pushed through the new immigration law. The three Zionist senators that pulled it through, they were laughing at the end when they got it passed and said, open the floodgates, let them in. And to me, it was obvious then that they want to rule the world from Jerusalem, in the end after they destroy the United States. But we're focusing on the wrong thing. I mean, it's good to talk about the symptoms of what's going on, but we need to focus on what's driving this from the top. like who these people are and what they want, and how we can identify them and how we can fight them. What can we do to stop this? Like what is their agenda? Somebody's in Europe. There's somebody organized that group coming across the water to Europe from Africa, and somebody's organized this thing down in Central America, and somebody's paying for their food on the way up here.
Absolutely.
So that's what we need to find out about. And who are these people? And that's who we should be attacking, not the immigrants themselves.
You're absolutely right. I mean, this is all organized. This wasn't a spontaneous, people in Honduras just stood up and said, well, we're just going to walk up to the United States. And of course, they're not really walking. They're on buses and flatbed trucks. And we know the organizations that are providing food and support for them. Some of them are funded by George Soros. As we mentioned earlier in the show, there are photos of some of these migrants carrying bags with the USAID logo on them, which means U.S. taxpayers are being forced to pay for all of this.
Well, who's George Soros working for? There's somebody above him.
I don't think so. I think Soros, basically by virtue of his billions, he feels he has a right to play God with the planet and just reshape it to what he thinks would be an ideal world, at least for billionaires. And back in I think it was the 1980s, there was a Michael Caine movie called $1 Billion Brain, and it basically involved a billionaire who wanted to start World War III with Russia to bring about dramatic change on the world. And I think, if I recall correctly, Ed Begley played the billionaire. That's who George Soros reminds me of. A guy who thinks that because he's got all this money, that he can just do whatever he wants in the world. And so far, unfortunately, he's been able to do that. And he's got a very large network of like-minded individuals who think a borderless world would be a really good thing, with everybody driven down to third world squalor. And they're helping each other. He's got so much money. He does seem to be above the law. I mean, he is a U.S. citizen. He's technically guilty of the USA Patriot Act. But again, like Hillary Clinton, Soros just never gets arrested.
Well, that's because too many people get paid off. You wonder, one guy controls the whole world like this. They paid off Merkel and all these leaders of these countries and the European Union to destroy their countries. You wonder, this is so bizarre that, what we need to do is find out all the mechanics of how all that stuff works at the top and start attacking that.
Well, that would be nice if we could do it, but they're very well insulated. Trump campaigned on going after the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation, and it hasn't happened. And it's probably because of their strong ties with the Central Intelligence Agency. And I have absolutely no doubt that Soros himself is also very well plugged in with CIA. And CIA holds itself as above the law and literally have a class of people considered untouchables. Going on back to the John F. Kennedy assassination, there was this guy was president of the International Mart. I'm blanking on his name right now. They couldn't touch him either because he was plugged in with the CIA.
Okay, well, I'm sure that's going on, NSA too. And that was the thing about Kavanaugh, you pointed out that he was soft on the Fourth Amendment. And I think that Fourth Amendment is so important, and it's just as important as the Second Amendment. If they can know what each one of us is doing, they can knock on our door at any time, and everybody's got a little mistake they made somewhere and pull you out of your house and throw you in jail. And I thought we were going to have a Supreme Court justice that said all this FICA stuff is illegal, and everything they're doing, the NSA is doing, is illegal, and we're going to prosecute these people who committed perjury at the top level, like the head of the NSA, and wipe all this stuff out and get back to a Fourth Amendment, because we lost it. But instead,
well,
we got
didn't lose it. it's still there. The problem is our federal government and our top politicians, they've gone outlaw. We're seeing that most obviously with the Democrats openly admitting they're getting illegal immigrants to vote for them. So they've gone outlaw, and that's the reality we're dealing with. And I can understand why a lot of people are saying, well, obviously there's no way to fix the country if the government itself is not playing by the rules. But I really don't think a violent revolution is going to do anybody any good in this country. I think we're just going to have to be patient and wait for a crash, which I think is definitely coming.
Well, if that comes, we got to decide what we're going to do after that. No, we need to find out now. We have to have a plan going in now, but there's no way. It's not organized. No leadership. The same people could take over after the crash happens.
Well, after the crash happens and we kick out the carpetbaggers, I presume there's going to be another constitutional convention, and all of the career politicians who wrecked this country will be locked out of it, and we'll form a constitutional convention of real, ordinary, working people like the very first one. Those were not professional politicians who set up this country. They were people who owned businesses. John Hancock sold insurance. Paul Revere was a silversmith. George Washington had a distillery on his plantation. They made their own money outside of government, and being in government was just a part-time thing. I think if we go back to that model, that we're going to have people who are going to seriously look at how to set this country up to really work for the people. And I've been working on a book on that subject. I these days don't seem to get enough time to really do much more on it, but it's called The Blueprint for the New America, and I'm going to try and get it done by the end of the year to get it on out there, where I basically say, this is what we do when the dust settles. Anyway, Terry, I'm going to let you go here. We got a lot of callers waiting on the line here right now, and also got a lot of news to cover as well. So let's switch over to Fred in Iowa. Aloha, Fred. Thank you for waiting. What's on your mind?
Oh, Mike, a lot. I need some time to get it out there, my friend. Let's throw the rascals out. Now, Bill Clinton's mentor, Carroll Quigley, at Georgetown University, revealed a fraud of the two-party system, which I'll read as follows. The argument of two parties should represent opposed ideas and policies, one perhaps of the right, the other of the left, is a foolish idea acceptable only to doctrinate and academic thinkers. Instead, the two parties should be almost identical so that the American people can throw the rascals out at any election without leading to any profound or extensive shifts in policy. The policies that are vital and necessary for America are no longer subjects of significant disagreement, but are disputable only in details of procedure, priority, and method. In other words, problem, reaction, solution. My God. Mike, have you ever considered the possibility that you are being played, that the American public is being played?
We're being played constantly. Years, the whole point of the independent media is pointing out where we're being played.
Now, right. You're rapping on the Democrats. I understand that. What have we got from Trump but rhetoric? Inflation is up, interest is up, the stock market's down. There's no fence built, which is asinine. You don't have to put up a fence. You don't even have to put up a chain link fence. You don't have to put up a barbed wire fence. That's just incarcerate anybody that employs an illegal alien. Simple as that.
Yep.
Now, George Soros and I got to watch my language, is Ahab. He's only one of the puppets, like our two-party system, puppet A and puppet B.
Well, I
Now,
disagree
George
on that
Soros-
one. I think Soros is the ultimate puppet master.
No. He's probably one of the group of 300. He's probably that. But he's not the head. I know who the head of it is.
Okay, and who would
But
that
I
be?
get in all kinds of trouble when I mention it, so I got to be cool about it. Now, we can throw the rascals out, and if we got Hillary Clinton in or whoever it is on the Democratic side or the Republican side, ain't going to make a damn bit of difference. We're still with our foreign policy, slaughtering women and children, taking their natural resources and their oil. Well, if you're having a hard time getting a job, well, can't you just join the military and go over there and kill them women and children, and then you can come back and you can have your college paid for? Sure. Well, I love America. Hallelujah. You get in there and you fight these bloody fights where you're killing all these women and children, and you're a patriot. That is insanity. That is stupid. And I thank you, my friend, for the time that you've given me. Goodbye.
Well, goodbye, and thank you very much. And your timing is perfect because we have to take a break for commercials, and we'll be back with a few more calls, and then we're going to close the lines because I am way, way behind on the news that I need to report today. So we'll be right back.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you one from Amazon.com. I just wanted you to know I saw my doctor and I laughed because he said, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it." I have been taking Extendivite. I had borderline high blood pressure, heart flutter, high cholesterol. I changed my diet and included Extendivite with an amazing turnaround for the better. A few months later, I had a doctor's appointment and took a stress test. I passed. No heart flutter. Blood pressure was perfect. My doctor even took me off my medicine. I thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. This stuff works, and I'm so grateful for Extendivite. Thank you, Justin G. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. And I believe next up is Dan in Illinois, or did we already talk to him?
No.
Okay, Dan, well, welcome to the show. And what is on your mind today?
I'll be quick. Do you remember a 1985 Chuck Norris movie, Invasion USA?
I remember seeing it. Seeing that the movie existed. I didn't actually watch it. I wasn't the greatest Chuck Norris fan.
Well, this one makes sense for what's going on now. You had all these terrorists hit the shore, and they had all these vehicles waiting to disperse them to predetermined sites all over the country to perform their terrorist duties. And it just so much like that right now, because I want to see, you're going to mass charge the border. How many vehicles are going to be, sweeping these people away?
Well, like I said earlier, what I think is going to happen is that when these migrants overwhelm the National Guard and just pour on through the border, they're going to be met by buses that are going to take them up to voting districts that are just slightly red, and on the way up there, they're all going to be registered to vote and dropped off there in those districts to turn the districts blue. I think that's what's really going on behind all of this. And again, for whoever's monitoring this show on behalf of the Trump administration, if Trump wants to hang on to the Congress, he'd better stop that migrant horde at the border, because they're going to be turned into instant Democratic voters.
Yeah, because it just, that's exactly what happened in the movie. They hit the shores of Florida, and they had the trucks waiting, and they just spread them all over the South, all over the place. And they, did their blowing up of stuff and stuff like that. It's actually a good movie. Everybody looked at it as a Chuck Norris shoot-up. But actually, if you watch it and see how these people do things, there's one line in there where the head terrorist wants to go after Chuck Norris, and the second in command says they will not stand for that. So they had their marching orders to come into here. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, we do know that there are likely ISIS terrorists in this group. This is coming from the president of Guatemala himself. And I'm sure that they're not coming to this country, to go shopping and go to church on Sunday. They're going to behave like ISIS. And a lot of them are probably very angry because they're feeling like they were double-crossed by the United States government, which set them all up and supplied them and trained them and supported them in Syria, and then all of a sudden has turned on them. So it's an ugly situation.
Yeah. And one more thing, that caller from California.
Yep.
He's dead on. I drove over the road during the 90s.
Yep.
And I was in California, LA on a regular basis, a couple times a month, if not more. I never seen tent cities. It had its skid row, always did, in bad areas, but you did not see tents all along the highways.
Yeah, I know. It's bad everywhere. Anyway, listen, I got to let you go. We got to do a break for station identification. We'll be back with a few more phone calls and then back to the news after these few words.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And we're going to go to Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, aloha, Mike. I want to make my comment real quick. Tracy Gabbard. I think she should wait till Hillary retires. I would hate to see Tracy in Fort Marcy Park,
Tulsi.
if you know what I mean.
Tulsi.
Tulsi, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Fort Marcy Park, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, obviously, if Hillary really is going to step into the 2020 race, that's going to be a concern for everybody else who's going to be in the primaries, which are probably going to be rigged for Hillary again. But more and more of the Democratic leadership are saying it really is time for Hillary to just sort of fade away into the sunset, and that one of the purposes of her and Bill's speaking tour is going to be gauging public support. Are they really going to fill the venue with people who are willing to fork over hundreds of dollars for a ticket? And if that does not happen, then the Clintons may realize that they had their shot, they got really close, but that's going to be it. And given that Hillary's medical problems appear to be coming on back, it's not a given. But I like Tulsi. I mean, I've never met her. And I could be just as disappointed in her as I am in Donald Trump. But I think it's time for some new blood. And that's something Tulsi definitely brings in. We've got this old guard that's hung on to power for year after year after year. And the longer they're there, the more corrupt they become. And it really is bad for the country. Okay, Tony? All right, I guess Tony left us, and we're going to take one more phone call from Frank in North Carolina. Then we're going to close the phone lines because I got a lot of news to share with you. So, Frank, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, right. Thanks. I with regards to George Soros, maybe he's independent, but I tend not to think so. I think he works for the Rothschilds, but you got to. The way I figure it, even if he doesn't
works
work
with
for
the Rothschilds.
Okay, because they could take him out anytime they want. So if he does anything that they decide, you know what, that's not really what we want, they can take him out anytime they want. And basically what this all comes down to, and I know I'm not supposed to say this is a Jewish war against America. That's all this is. The caravan, everything else, they've got all their people in all the key gatekeeping and authority positions to where if we even say that there is such a thing as Jewish power, we're done. You can't even speak of it. That's how you know who controls your country. They want to bring down Western civilization. Barbara Lerner Specter is just one of the people out there. We can go listen to it. But for whatever reason, they want to bring us down. And with regards to the H-1B visas or whatever, I don't believe, I agree with you. They're dumbing down the American students. There's no doubt about that. I think it's a lot more a lot more conspiratorial than that. I guarantee you, over in India, they have programs and everything set up specifically to target so that they can prepare their people to come in and take our jobs as an act of war against the white race. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for the phone call, and I don't think it's a war against the white race, although we're certainly hearing rumblings about that here in this country. But, you know, there's another way to look at all of this stuff. We may, in fact, be seeing the beginnings of the problems of overpopulation, where people are getting more and more desperate to grab onto what is left of natural resources or what's left of the money. And, you know, if you put, for example, too many rats into a cage, get them crowded up too much, they'll turn on each other and start killing each other. And we're getting more and more crowded. All right, so we're closing the phone lines here for the rest of the show because I've got a bunch of stuff to share with you. Getting on back to the Khashoggi murder, Mike Pompeo is out there saying that 21 Saudis will lose their U.S. visas over the Khashoggi murder, but Saudi Arabia is still an important ally. In other words, the story is going to go away, at least from the point of view of the Trump administration. There are high-ranking members of Congress, Israel firsters, who are still out there saying Saudi Arabia has to be punished. But again, the practical result of Saudi Arabia being punished in any way is that Saudi Arabia will turn away from its relationship with the United States and turn to other countries here. Now, Saudi Arabia has now imposed a travel ban on Khashoggi's family. And the Geneva Council for Human Rights and Justice is calling on the Saudi authorities to lift that travel ban, who was killed inside Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. The one person who has come out of this whole Khashoggi situation looking good is Turkish President Erdogan, because he has manipulated the story and the media to his advantage. He succeeded in making Saudi Arabia look really, really bad. And he kept the story alive with suggestions of very grisly details to the murder, which may or may not be true. But apparently they have found the remains of the body down a well in the garden of the Saudi consul's home, which is currently sitting empty, in Istanbul. And at one point, the Turkish authorities were blocked from looking further into the well by the Saudis. Now the Saudis have backed off and said, yeah, go ahead, take a look here. Story coming out of Russia Insider. Saudi Arabia gets a friend in need, Russia. And so here is exactly what I was warning about. If the United States gets too heavy-handed with Saudi Arabia, we're going to see Saudi Arabia turn away from the United States. They've already said that if the U.S. hits Saudi Arabia with sanctions, they're going to start mending diplomatic bridges with Iran, which would throw the entire U.S. Mideast policy into the trash can, because the U.S. has been trying to isolate Iran leading up to a potential invasion. And if Saudi Arabia partners up with them, that's a whole different story here. Now, over in Israel, the Israeli lobby, they want the Saudis to get away with this Khashoggi murder. And the reason is that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is seen as Israel's key regional ally. And that may, in fact, be one of the reasons why many within the Saudi royal family are not happy with him. But the Israel lobby is out there saying that, yeah, this story should just kind of go away. And, you know, everybody makes mistakes. And heck, there's been 70 journalists killed this year, and what's one more? All right, over in Syria, U.S. troops are clashing with Turkish-backed militants near Manbij. And apparently troops of the U.S.-led coalition are fighting with the militias near the city of Manbij, currently controlled by the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. So apparently, if I'm reading this correctly, is that the Turkish militants are trying to take control. But here we have the U.S. and Turkey fighting on Syrian soil, and you can see why it gets as confusing as it sometimes does here. Alrighty, John Bolton has announced that Donald Trump will meet with Vladimir Putin next month in Paris. The Democrats are up in arms saying, no, 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 you can't meet him. You can't meet him. You can't do that. Yeah, I'm sorry, he can. Trump is the head of state, and he gets to do these things. It's part of the job here. Over in Israel, their education minister, Naftali Bennett, is reiterating the idea of Jerusalem as being a shared capital between Israel and a future Palestinian state. He did a interview for Israeli Army radio, and Bennett heads the right-wing Jewish Home Party, basically saying it will not be possible to divide Jerusalem even after 1,000 years. And he ended up by saying, we are a small country. We will not give the Arabs even a centimeter. Well, I'm sorry. The Arabs did used to own that land, and I think sharing might be a better way to go with that. And of course, I know what the Israeli answer is going to be. Read the Bible. God gave us this land. Supposedly, he gave it to the biblical Hebrews, not these transplanted Khazars from Central Asia. Anyway, Israel has decided to deduct the cost of Palestinian prisoner treatment from the Palestinian administration taxes. It's a little bit of a scam. Israel is arresting Palestinians very often without charge, without trial. They throw them in jail, and now they're going to turn around and say that the Palestinian Authority has to pay for the costs. Cute little moneymaker there. Meanwhile, Jared Kushner is over still trying to sell Trump's great peace plan, even though the exact details have not come on out. In fact, the only thing everybody is saying is that both sides would need to make concessions. However, all of the concessions that have been detailed so far are on the part of the Palestinians. In particular, surrendering their right of return to their homes and villages, something that was promised to them by Israel and by the United Nations. And Trump and Kushner are basically exacerbating the starvation blockade by the cutting off of funds to the United Nations. And their approach to this is going to be, give us what we want and we'll let you have back what you had before. And you should be happy with that. And no, the Palestinians are not going to be happy with that. Now, getting on over to that village of Khan al-Ahmar in the occupied West Bank, the planned demolition of the village has generated an international outcry. And as a result, Israel has announced they're going to delay the demolition. And of course, part of the problem is the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor has warned Israel that forced displacement of the Bedouin residents is likely a war crime. But despite the delay, Israel's government came on out and said that, yes, we're determined. We will destroy Khan al-Ahmar. So they want to evacuate the village and just tear it down to make way for, well, usually it's going to be another Israeli settlement. And by the way, a reminder, under international law, all of those Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank are illegal. Okay, apparently yesterday there was another confrontation along the eastern boundary of the central Gaza Strip. This has to do with the maritime protests, and a 17-year-old boy was killed by the IDF. Okay, Israel is looking at passing a bill that will link all future cultural funding with loyalty to the state of Israel. And basically that if cultural institutions are not showing enough loyalty to Israel, they will lose their funding. And so this bill will give the Finance and Culture Ministries the power to slash subsidies to any institution presenting work that denies Israel's existence as a democratic and Jewish state, or that marks the state Independence Day as a national day of mourning. So, a little dictatorship there. Over in the Western Pacific here, article out of Zero Hedge. The prospect of a U.S.-China war rising after U.S. warships sailed through the Taiwan Strait. And once again, U.S. warships made this provocative passage through the Taiwan Strait, which is making relations between Washington and Beijing, who are already in the middle of a trade war, even hotter. And Steve Levine at Axios is saying, what are the chances of a U.S.-China war? And said, if history holds, the U.S. and China appear headed toward a war. Now, what would that war look like? Obviously, the United States does not have the means to physically invade the Chinese mainland and take it over. It is a huge place with a huge population. So would it amount to a blockade, a naval blockade? Well, China's still hooked up with Russia and other countries to the east. Are they talking about just a bombing campaign or missile attack at which China would definitely respond, which is making people on Guam and even here in Hawaii a little bit nervous? Article coming out of Sputnik News. U.S. seeks advantage over Russia by deploying missiles in Eastern Europe. And apparently this is the first thing that Trump is doing after he announced his withdrawal from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. And still saying it's all Moscow's fault. But putting missiles in Eastern Europe is a provocation, because that's what led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now, unfortunately, when schools talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis, they tend to make it sound like the Soviet Union, just for no reason at all, decided to come over to Cuba and plop these missiles down within 90 miles of the southern tip of Florida. And that's not exactly what happened. The United States was deploying nuclear missiles in Turkey, aimed at Russia, aimed at the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union wanted to basically achieve parity, saying, if you launch your Turkish nuclear missiles, we will launch the ones we have in Cuba. And we came very dangerously close to having a nuclear exchange over that, but Kennedy was finally able to work a way through that. And the Soviet Union removed their missiles from Cuba. The United States removed their missiles from Turkey. And Khrushchev and Kennedy had this little private understanding that if the United States tried to invade Cuba again, there would be a nuclear strike on the U.S. No questions asked, no time for discussion, that it would just happen. Now, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, the original trail of evidence pointed to Cuba and Castro as being behind the Kennedy assassination. That's why they had these phony Oswalds going down to the Cuban embassy in Mexico, where he was photographed, or some guy who didn't even look anything at all like Lee Harvey Oswald was photographed going into the embassy. That's why they gave him that Mannlicher Carcano rifle, which was a terrible, terrible weapon, because following the Bay of Pigs, Castro was importing cargo ships full of these very inexpensive Italian rifles and giving them to the Cuban people to be prepared for a second U.S. Invasion. And so the whole point of the Mannlicher Carcano was it was supposed to support the idea that Oswald had gotten this from the Cubans. But Lyndon Johnson knew about the warning from Khrushchev and he needed to thwart that second invasion. That, the propagandists were trying to rile up the American people. We need to invade Cuba. They killed our president. We're going to do this. So Johnson cooked up the crazed lone nut assassin, the A. Hydel buying the rifle locally, to basically pull the rug out from underneath this effort at a new Cuban invasion, because he knew what that would result in. And I didn't like Lyndon Johnson, especially with his attitude toward the war. But this was one thing that he did right, and it's kind of sad that the history books don't really pay a lot of attention to it. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're basically back in a new Cold War where governments are plundering their own people to pour it all into weapons. more weapons, better weapons. And one of the areas in which the arms race is becoming more and more visible are the hypersonic weapons. And apparently, in the wake of the U.S. withdrawing from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, this is going to open up the possibility of developing more of these hypersonic weapons that fit into that range and carry nuclear warheads. According to NPR, over the past year, the U.S., China, and Russia have all stepped up efforts to develop a new kind of missile, a weapon that can fly faster and farther than almost anything currently in use, and it's known as a hypersonic weapon, which means it would travel at 5 times the speed of sound or more. They can strike a target while evading missile defenses and hit almost anywhere without any warning deep inside enemy territory. Now, the reality is that both Russia and China are well ahead of the United States in developing this technology. And again, it's just so angering to see our government just on this warpath when there are so many other things going wrong with this country. I mean, look at the economy. The Dow plunged 609 today. All of the gains of 2018 that Donald Trump was pointing at have now vanished. They have absolutely vanished here. The FBI is finally coming clean on how they illegally infiltrated the Trump campaign. They're still trying to keep the identities of some of their confidential sources, confidential. But apparently they were inside the Trump campaign, spying on, among other people, Carter Page, gathering information that was used to go before the FISA court, along with that dossier by Christopher Steele, to get warrants to make it all retroactively sort of, kind of, maybe okay. Silicon Valley is spending millions of dollars trying to get Democrats elected. And Donald Trump is accusing Twitter of shadow banning prominent Republicans, which, yes, they are. He accused Google in a series of tweets in August of playing up negative articles about him in search results. James Woods, the actor, who's very intelligent, he slammed the CEO of Twitter, saying, "If you want to kill my free speech, man up and slit my throat." But according to FEC filings, employees of Silicon Valley's Masters of the Universe have donated millions of dollars to Democrat House and Senate candidates ahead of the midterms. Now, this tends to be the way they donate every election cycle. But at this point, they've only donated $179,000 to the Republicans, which is about 8% of their total donations. You always want to give a little money to the other party just in case they pull off a miracle and win. You want to be able to say, you know, I gave you a few bucks, do me a favor here. The Saudis have poured $24 million to influence U.S. policy during this current election cycle. And the Center for Responsive Politics is saying that some $18 million of the $24 million were paid to foreign agents acting on behalf of Saudi interests in 2017, and another $6 million in spending has been reported this year. Meanwhile, nobody is reporting on how much Israel is spending to influence our election cycle. Ever notice that? It's always everybody else. Israel's interference in our domestic politics is there for everybody to see, but nobody dares talk about it. You can't talk about it. Now, earlier this year, the British government was out there screaming, "We suspect Russia is going to try and interfere in our elections," and the media went wild with it. More Russian election meddling. See, it bolsters the idea they were meddling in the U.S. elections. There was no evidence it was happening here in the U.S., and now the British government has admitted that there is no evidence of Russian meddling in the U.K. elections. Okay. Democrat gubernatorial nominee Andrew Gillum is dealing with a big problem. Apparently, the newspaper that just endorsed him broke a story saying that Gillum lied to the public about a gift he received from an undercover FBI agent while on a business trip in New York. It was tickets to see Hamilton, and his acceptance of the gift may qualify as a bribe under Florida law. And they don't have to document that he actually did anything in exchange for the gift. The one thing we know for sure is this isn't a situation where a friend gave Gillum a gift. This was an undercover FBI agent, and the FBI almost certainly took steps to ensure it qualified as a bribe under both federal and state laws. In Florida, this is a second-degree felony. We're going to take a break for commercials. We will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354, or visit MIG911.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty, ourselves and
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The other day we were talking about how this lawsuit over an extortion attempt has brought into the daylight the fact that there are, in fact, companies that provide crowds to scream and yell, to applaud, and there's a lot of money that's out there being spent to create these illusions. There's another story today. There's a new video out from American Association of Evangelicals, and it details how George Soros, through his many funding ventures, has been busy infiltrating the Christian base in America in order to divide them and basically split the religious vote within the Republican Party. Now, apparently, over at a group called Sojourners, there was this guy, Jim Wallace, publicly denying he was a recipient of Soros funding. Well, it turned out he was wrong, that Open Society money and grant dollars have flowed in by the hundreds of thousands to the Sojourners. And they're basically trying to find ways, these groups are going around to various churches trying to split the religious vote. Okay. All right, let's talk about the economic news here. And again, as I've already mentioned, the Dow dropped 609 today, and I'm expecting it'll be worse tomorrow. I can smell the panic starting to gather. And as of right now, all of the stock market gains for all of this year have now been wiped out. Trump is out there trying to put the blame on the Federal Reserve and the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, basically saying that every time we do something great, he raises interest rates. And there's no question that increasing the interest rates is going to have a negative impact on the stock market because of the way the market is being manipulated. Now, Morgan Stanley's chief equity strategist, rented lips, Michael Wilson, is warning that U.S. capital markets have hit the tipping point. And that does not sound very good. We keep hearing from all over these experts saying, yeah, it's going to happen. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but it might be upon us. And obviously, if the economy were to tank between now and the midterms, the Democrats would seize on it and say, see, Obama started an economic recovery and Donald Trump has absolutely destroyed it. Okay, you've probably been following on the news about this lottery that just kept building and building and building until it became the largest single jackpot ever. $1.6 billion. And apparently one winning lottery ticket has been sold in the U.S. based on the drawing that they had last night. So somebody out there is holding a lottery ticket for $1.6 billion. Of course, it doesn't matter who gets the ticket. The government's a big winner because they come in and scoop up a big chunk of that. But if it should happen to be one of our listeners here, please remember us over here at Republic Broadcasting, and we can always use, a few $1 million. I could use a few $1 million, and that would be a very nice thing to do. Now, on a more serious note, you might be tempted to think that winning a giant lottery prize like that would be a wonderful blessing and your life would be set. But there's a very surprising statistic in that a large number of people who win these giant lottery prizes, they'll go bankrupt after just 5 years because they've got so much money, they're spending it on a scale they can't connect with. And they'll go out and they'll buy new expensive cars and a new expensive house. And without thinking about investing it or banking it, they can get overcommitted, not to mention taken advantage of, and get into trouble. Mohammed El Arian, who's Aldian's chief economic advisor, was on CNBC's Squawk on the Street and was out there saying the global economy is slowing and it's becoming more divergent, and investors should approach markets that can no longer count on constant support from the central banks. Now, that's a very interesting story. The US dollar is weakening, and that is setting silver prices for a breakout, to be followed by gold and palladium prices, although palladium's already up because most palladium comes from Russia, and right now there is a supply crunch. Cryptocurrency giants Coinbase and Circle are forming a joint venture to boost adoption of a dollar-backed digital coin system. And the joint venture is known as the Center Consortium, and they say they want to speed up adoption of cryptocurrencies backed by actual government currencies like the US dollar. Personally, I would have picked a different government currency, but that's where we are on this. Alrighty. Despite all the stuff about Khashoggi, the Saudi Economic Summit, the Davos in the Desert, was apparently a huge success. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was all smiles. Saudis signed some $50 billion in deals. And apparently it worked out very, very well, despite the threat of sanctions and tariffs and so forth and so on here. Over at a weapons show in Paris, France, President Macron is saying that any questions about arms sales to Saudis are off the topic. They're not going to be talked about. Meaning, yeah, Khashoggi is dead, but money is money, and we're going to be selling our weapons to whoever we want. India is starting to offload more U.S. treasuries to boost their national currency, and they are also buying gold. And right now here in the United States of America, gold is actually leaving our country. There's a net outflow of gold, and other countries are definitely buying it up. India, gold is very popular at the consumer level. So, alrighty, apparently North Korea bought at least $640 million in luxury goods from China in 2017 in defiance of UN sanctions. And apparently the UN sanctions were outlawing such trade over the nuclear and missile programs. And yeah, you sanction too many people, it stops being seen as anything really meaningful. It really does. Okay. All right. Apparently, the United Nations is saying that over 45,000 migrants reached Spain this year. And that is more this year than it did in the previous 3 years combined. So it's not just our southern border that's under assault. So is Europe. And apparently, these migrants entered Spain through the western Mediterranean route. And they account for almost half of the more than 94,000 migrants who have entered Europe by sea from North Africa. This is all being organized. This is all the globalist New World Order trying to blur us all together, taking all the different ethnic groups and putting us in a giant blender and hitting frappe and figuring we're all going to come out, hug each other, and sing Kumbaya. Of course, as we can tell in Europe, it has not been working. It's causing a huge amount of problems. Apparently, Germany is now very upset because the EU is saying that Germany is going to have to make up the EU's budget shortfall after Great Britain leaves. And they picked on Germany because Germany's economy is one of the very few in the EU that is still working. All the other EU countries are in serious trouble. They're in serious debt. And it basically will mean that Germany's annual contribution to Brussels will be 40 billion pounds sterling, or the equivalent thereof. France has now issued a warning that if Great Britain goes ahead with a no-deal Brexit and fails to pay the £39 billion divorce bill demanded by Brussels, that France will shut their end of the Channel Tunnel in Calais. Just close the gates and lock it all up. And of course, that would cause tremendous, tremendous difficulty for Great Britain. So it's getting ugly over there. We were talking before about Common Core. And as you know, a big part of the Common Core program was the ACT test, which was supposed to be this standardized test that was given to all American students. And apparently the ACT scores for the class of 2018 are the worst reported in decades. Math scores especially are in free fall among ACT-tested U.S. high school graduates, hitting their lowest mark in 14 years. And this was calculated from test scores in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And the percentage of ACT-tested graduates who met or surpassed the ACT College Readiness benchmark in math fell to the lowest level since 2004. Now, this is a red flag for our country when you look at the importance of math and science skills in the increasingly tech-driven U.S. and global job market. But it's not just the math scores that have parents and educators concerned. Scores in other subjects are also falling. Now, what is going on there? Is it because the schools are having to spend more and more time dealing with multiculturalism and less time teaching? That's one possible explanation. Is it because the kids are looking at the economic realities of this country and thinking, why should I even bother? Or are too many of these kids now on these medications for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is a made-up disease to sell medication? But something is definitely going on here. Twitter has now banned more InfoWars accounts, but for some reason, Louis Farrakhan, he's still allowed to tweet out what he tweets out, which is considered offensive by a lot of people here. And Twitter is now removing accounts that retweet InfoWars material, just shutting them all down. Over at Facebook, as you know, Zuckerberg acknowledged last week that users are spending something like 50 million hours a day less on Facebook around the world, and tried to make it sound like this was a good thing because of Facebook's redesign and other measures they're taking. Personally, when you're dependent on ad revenues, no, that's not a good thing. But Facebook is having a rough year, no question about it. They've had all these scandals involving data security, user privacy, and the spread of misinformation. The company's stock lost nearly 1/4 of its value in July when it announced its second quarter earnings and warned of a revenue slowdown. It's down more than 10% on the year. The other problem is that a lot of top executives are leaving the company. Jan Koum, who was the co-founder of WhatsApp, he announced he was leaving in April. Elliot Schrage, head of communications and public policy, announced in June he was leaving after working at Facebook for more than a decade. Colin Stretch, Facebook's top lawyer, was leaving after being there for 8 years. Alex Stamos, chief security officer, left the company in August. Dan Rose, the vice president of partnerships, announced his departure in August. Rachel Whetstone, a top communications executive, left for Netflix in August after being at Facebook for a year. And Alex Hardiman, head of news products, also announced her exit in August. So it sounds like something is going on, and the insiders know there's a problem. Now, as we look for alternative social media sites, and we look for a replacement for YouTube, which is not only keeping view counts down, we've caught them doing it on Claire's videos. Now they've actually been caught re-editing comments to make them politically acceptable. And one of the alternatives to YouTube was called Real Video, real.video. And apparently they got sued by somebody who claims they're infringing on their trademark. And rather than spend $500,000 in legal bills over the next 5 years trying to defend their name, they have come up with a new name, and it's called Brighteon.com. And it's always a good idea to have a made-up word as your name, because then you're less likely to accidentally step on somebody else's trademark. But it's Brighteon.com, Brighteon.com. And so they're going to avoid the legal costs and focus on building up their platform. Over in China, Lu Wei, who was once the gatekeeper of the entire internet for all of China, pled guilty last Friday to abuse of power and accepting what amounted to US $4.6 million in bribes over the span of his 15-year career. And Lu Wei made a statement to the court, admitted guilt, expressed his regret. But again, that's going to be a problem with the gatekeepers. They're going to be under tremendous pressure to block certain things, like conservatives. They'll be under pressure to let certain things through, even if they violate the terms of service. Over at Yahoo, they have agreed to pay $50 million US in damages and provide 2 years of free credit monitoring services to 200 million people whose email addresses and other personal information were stolen as part of the biggest security breach in history. So they're going to settle on that one. All right, we're going to take a commercial break. Back with the last segment of today's program after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today. And I want to back on up to this very obvious, desperate, pathetic public relations stunt with these phony bombs. And by the way, it should be remembered that Mike Adams and Alex Jones did predict something like this was going to happen to try and shift the election back toward the Democrats. Apparently now Hollywood has gotten in on this idea of blaming the bombs on Donald Trump, saying that Make America Great Again has radicalized more domestic terrorists than ISIS. And so you had people like Rob Reiner coming in saying Donald Trump tells his cult followers protesters are paid for by Soros, Hillary Clinton should be locked up, John Brennan should lose his clearance, CNN is the enemy of the people, and blames Obama for everything. Their lives were all threatened. You do the math. Get out there and vote, which right there tells you that's what this is all about, trying to motivate the Democratic base. But again, this is all a gigantic hoax, and it is so obvious, I think probably even the most die-hard Democrat is going to look at this and say, this is insulting that they're trying to do this. Now, to basically do a rundown, based on the photo of the so-called bomb that was sent to CNN, and by the way, that was leaked out. The police did not release that. It's obvious the bomb is a fake. It's a prop, and a poorly done one. For one thing, there's no battery on it, which you have to set off the blasting cap detonator. The battery that's inside that digital clock doesn't have the amperage to do that. Whoever put that digital clock on there and threw a battery in it forgot to even take off that little clear plastic with the phony numbers that they put as part of the packaging display. If you look closely at that photo, you can see there's two overlapping sets of numbers. They run the wires to both ends of the pipe. That's not how bombs are made. It's two wires twisted together to one end of the bomb where supposedly the blasting cap is located. And who's going to mail a bomb with a time delay on it? Because somebody can go to the mailbox, open up the package and say, oh my goodness, it's a bomb. It's going to explode in 6 hours. So they get to walk away. They get to call the authorities, which is exactly what was supposed to happen. None of these bombs actually detonated. They weren't supposed to. They're there for visual effects. They're set dressing on all of this nonsense. And who mails packages? Who mails bombs to people who don't open their own mail? This is fake from top to bottom. There are so many things wrong with this. If I had a prop master working on a film for me and I said, make a realistic looking bomb, I would fire them over this. It's that bad. It's high school quality work. And again, they're trying to pump this as hard as they can. But so far from the email I'm receiving, nobody's buying this. And if the Democrats aren't buying it, this may actually backflash, and Democrats are going to stay home saying, I'm tired of being treated like I'm an idiot by the party leadership. I'm just going to stay home tonight. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Please stay tuned for John Stedmiller. He's got lots of interesting things to share with you, I am certain. Please take what you are learning here and share it with everyone that you know, especially the fact that these bombs are very obvious fakes. And please donate to RBN. Donate to What Really Happened. We'll be back tomorrow. And aloha, America.